to like in the deck.
Right, turn 1 is Night Market Lookout from Frank, and it'll be Soulscar Mage on Rio's side. So, and that's a great start, really, for Rio. I mean, his 1-mana 1/2 is great against Frank's 1-mana 1/1.
It's less good against Frank's 2-drop.
Yeah.
Gifted Aetherborn.
Yeah, Gifted Aetherborn it's really a great card against red decks. The fact that Frank gets to play 4 in the main is just a win.
Yeah, 2-mana, 2-power of Lifelink. The Death Touch not really terribly relevant here, but that Lifelink sure is.
Bomat Courier added for Rio. So interestingly, we're seeing players play creatures each turn, but no one's safe to attack, which means we're getting to the late game. And if we get to the late game, I think Rio's plan of extra removal spells, treasure maps, glory bringers, I like it here. Let me see that Lookout. A pretty aggressive 1-drop for the deck, but not against another deck that can just make a 1/2 on 1 to block it. It hasn't gotten to tap yet.
One of the things that this deck does to get around that is you just use your Night Market Lookout to crew your vehicles.
Yeah.
You get a free tap on it.
And the game just keeps getting stranger. On Frank's side, no 3rd land. He plays Dread Wanderer. Rio's side plays a 3rd land and just passes. Has nothing, no creatures to cast. Finally, Frank will swing in with Gifted Aetherborn. He gets his first points of damage in.
Makes no creatures, no removal spell for the
Yeah.
Aetherborn. This is not a good turn for Rio.
Scrap Heap Scrounger for Skarren. He's stuck on double black right now. He made the Gifted Aetherborn off Aether Hub and then spent the energy. So that 1 swamp's his only black source. In looking at his list, colorless mana does not have very many uses. A lot of his spells cost black only. Now Rio going to work his way up the mana curve. Here's Chandra, Torch of Defiance. -3, she will shoot down the Gifted Aetherborn. And I'm waiting for Rio to make it up to the Glory Bringers here.
Oh, yeah. Even just untapping with Chandra from here would be very nice, utilizing that extra mana. But start casting Glory Bringer, that just breaks this game wide open. Only reasonable answer to Glory Bringer that Frank has, he could assemble some of these vehicles. That's one way that you can actually block Glory Bringer. He has 1 copy of Walk the Plank.
Yeah,
Not a ton of removal.
Frank is really hoping to end the game before we start getting into casting the 1st and 2nd Glory Bringer.
Right. Yeah, his deck's just trying to come out of the gates very fast and close games quickly.
Yeah. Fatal Push will remove the Soulscar Mage. Frank going to attack, looks like with everything. So a drain of 1 off that Night Market Lookout. Rio will drop to 15. And now we'll see how he wants to block. He's got that Bomat Courier. It can trade with either Dread Wanderer or Night Market Lookout. He'll trade with the Lookout. And believe both the top 2 creatures were sent at Chandra while the Scrounger went at Rio. We'll confirm here on life totals, though.
Yeah, makes sense to get the Chandra off the table, even though it takes a bit for it to be a removal spell again. Just generating card advantage every turn is really nice.
Yeah, and it does look like Rio, he took that 3 off the Scrounger. So his follow-up plays another copy of Chandra. This one pluses, revealing another Chandra.
Dread Wanderer and Scrap Heap Scrounger not very enticing targets for a -3.
That's not correct. It got rid of the Ferocidon, but Rio was not able to cast it. He does make Bomat Courier, so the Bomat Courier can block Dread Wanderer to keep Chandra around for another turn.
Barring Skarren producing another Fatal Push.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the tricky part, is that 1 removal spell and and Rio's board gets swept. He was really hoping for Glory Bringer here. Chandra can work if Frank can't remove the blocker.
Yeah. And Frank still not able to produce a 3rd land. So he's been pretty choked on mana this game. He doesn't have very much in the way of expensive spells. He just can't do very much. Just casting pretty mopey creatures.
For Rio Travathan from the Charlotte, he's actually had some success here on the SCG Tour, but all of it coming in Modern. He's got some Invitational qualifier finishes as well as some top 32s at our Modern Opens. All of them playing Burn. Expecting if he can make it to the Modern portion, that will be his deck.
Sure. Sequence here, Skarren produced a Key to the City. Used that to make the Dread Wanderer unblockable. Didn't want to trade that with the Bomat Courier.
I like that a lot.
Yep. Sent his creatures at Chandra. His Scrounger got to eat the Bomat Courier. though Rio does maintain the Chandra.
And now we're going to see the other side of the Treasure Red deck from Rio. He got to untap with Chandra, plussed her, and showed a copy of Treasure Map.
So he's...
And he elected actually, I think, not to cast it, just to deal 2.
For a shock. I believe the reason that he did that is those deserts there, those aren't Sunscorched deserts. Those are Dunes of the Dead.
Okay.
And he has a Ramunap Ruins. So he actually just wants to activate his Ruins and make 2/2 blockers. That's going to be more valuable in the map on this board.
So Dunes of the Dead, that's the desert that when it dies, you get a 2/2 zombie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you sacrifice that to the Ruins, you make a 2/2, you shock upstairs.
Yeah, we've seen Treasure Map here. That was Rio's other option. The card here lets him scry 1 and put landmark counters on, eventually flips into many treasures and turns into an extra land. So, going back over the side, Rio's still at 12. Frank will attack with his 2 creatures. It looks like he just didn't draw the card off Key to the City. We hope that's just too much of an investment. It's his whole turn.
Yeah, it's hard to pay 2 mana when you only have 2 lands.
Dunes of the Dead will be sacrificed to Ramunap Ruins. A zombie's created. The zombie blocks Dread Wanderer, trades. But Rio takes 3. We'll see a Ruin Raider for Frank Skarren.
Reveals a Fatal Push.
Yeah, Ruin Raider, the 3/2 for 3, has Raid. If you attacked with a creature this turn, you get an extra card.
Yep. One of the rare times where they make a card as an homage to Dark Confidant that's actually playable.
Yeah, I mean, Painseer, you weren't really into that one.
There's a lot of similar cards that have not shown up. Though currently there's 2 in Standard that are pretty good.
Glint Sleeve Siphoner is quite the card too.
It's also in this deck. That's why you see the Ether Hubs.
All right, we go back over to Frank. Rio again. Looks like he found Treasure Map off Chandra. It's still not into it. We're going for the Dunes of the Dead again. Dealing 2, making a zombie. Which figures he doesn't have time. This time Frank has Fatal Push before blocks. So the zombie will not be able to block. 2 damage to the Chandra. She's down. We'll see how if the other creature was sent to Rio. It looks like it was. And now there's the other Dark Confidant, Glint Sleeve Siphoner.
Now
Frank.
things are looking really good for Skarren.
Yeah.
Significantly ahead on the battlefield now is Rio. He has been a bit flooded. No longer has access to that Chandra.
Yeah, and he has a 3rd Chandra in hand, but this go big strategy that Rio's using, the issue is that Chandra doesn't seem like the right card to stabilize in this matchup.
Right. And you really have to deal with these Rune Raiders. You know, you have to stop Frank from drawing all these extra cards. Chandra is good, but it's not that good.
All right. So Rio is at 12. Looks like last turn Frank just sent make sure the Chandra was gone. Rio's going to make another Chandra here. Shoots down the Ruin Raider. And it's back to Frank. Still has that Key to the City. And really a full grip. Draws Aethersphere Harvester. Here's land 4. And that's the thing, is as Frank finally draws these long overdue lands, he's just going to get to unleash his hand.
Right. And Aethersphere Harvester as a singular card is problematic for these red decks.
Yeah. So the attack takes care of Chandra with 1 of the creatures. And then hits in for 3. Rio's down to 9. Frank will make Aethersphere Harvester and make Dread Wanderer. 4 creatures in play. The Harvester gets him enough energy to start drawing cards with Siphoner. And I like everything about Frank's board.
Oh, yeah.
And a Soul Scar Mage off the top for Rio. But, you know, and he got out. He created his deck did, I think, what he wanted to in the matchup. He created a stalemate early, then made some Chandras. But that actually just wasn't enough for the matchup. It felt like there's a lot of pressure here for Rio to specifically have Glorybringer.
Yes, certainly. And one of the things, just with a bunch of 1-for-1 removal spells, part of that was canceled out because Skarren drew significantly fewer lands than Rio.
Yeah.
So he was able to cast a lot more spells. The other thing is, if it came to it, we haven't seen it this game, Skarren's also presenting a lot of sticky creatures. Scrap Heap Scrounger is hard to permanently solve. You have to have Magma Spray exactly.
And we see Supernatural Stamina from Frank going to show lethal. So game 1 goes over to Frank Skarren. And you're absolutely right. At the end of that game, that one Key to the City activation that Frank didn't draw off of, he discarded Dread Wanderer to it. So eventually that would have come back as well.
Yep.
But no need. Mono Black aggro takes the first game here. So we have a pretty interesting matchup. First of all, Mono Black aggro is very not what we expect to see in 3-0. And this Treasure Red has a lot going on with the two. We're going to break down the sideboards in just a second. We're going to take a short break. All right, so Frank Skarren and Rio Winslow Travathan are going to get ready for game number 2 here. We're going to take a quick look at their sideboards. And Ryan, one of the things we were talking about this with this Treasure Red deck, because Rio isn't playing Hazards. He's playing main deck Glorybringers. He's playing main deck Chandras. You said, this is an I said, first, this is a really interesting strategy. And your response, I think, was pretty poignant here. That it's just kind of, isn't there a deck that already does that?
Yeah, we're kind of playing some of the good cards that Teamer plays, but we're not playing all of the good cards that
if you
Teamer
wanted to play a
plays.
Chandra Glorybringer main, a deck with 4 Lightning Strike, 4 Shock, 3 Abrade, 3 Chandra, 3 Glorybringer in the main, there's a really good deck that does that.
Yeah, I'm kind of into Rogue Refiner more than I'm into Soulscar Mage.
Sure. Now, let's look at the sideboard then for Rio. He's got 3 Chandra's Defeat, 2 Hazaret, 2 Harvester, 2 PNLR, 2 Magma Spray, 2 Cut to Ribbons, and 2 Harsh Mentor. He's got even more removal spells on the sideboard, which, to be fair, could help him here.
Yeah.
What else do we do?
So it makes sense to reach for Cut to Ribbons because it's a removal spell that can also close the game. In particular, you really want to get gifted Aetherborn off the battlefield every time.
Sure.
Magma Spray is great here. Love that one. We didn't see any vehicles, though we did see Key to the City. I think depending on how aware of the matchup he is, Harsh Mentor is actually really good in this matchup.
Now, to have note that Cut to Ribbons, his deck cannot cast. The only way he can, I don't believe he can cast ribbons.
Yeah, the other day, so that card doesn't actually seem that good because it deals with Siphon or Gifted Aetherborn. It makes sense.
He can use Treasure Map to cast it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, I'm into this. And then I like Aetherseer Harvester basically against any aggressive deck.
Now on Frank's side, 4 Duress, 2 Harsh Scrutiny, 2 Vraska's Contempt, 2 Fourth Bridge Patrol, 2 Kitesail Freebooter, 2 Walk the Plank, and then his own copy of Chandra's Defeat. I'm going to check on that last one. I don't...
Huh.
He does have it. That's there.
Maybe
he's got 4 Aether Hubs.
Yeah. Okay, I assume it comes in if he has
What?
it.
I would not. What?
He's ambitious.
I mean, that's got to come in here. The deck's all
love it.
red cards. We'll start with Night Market Lookout on Frank's side, and Rio will shock. So again, we're seeing this kind of control mid-range red strategy for Rio. We'll see if it executes better here in the second game. Soul Scar Mage and a pass. Rio is on the play this time, which I think really would have helped him out last game to get the Chandra down a turn earlier.
Yes, certainly.
He would have had, I think this first time that Chandra flipped Treasure Map, he had to pass on Treasure Map because he was too far behind. If he had an extra turn, maybe he gets to make the map, and all that changes. So it is Scrap Heap Scrounger for Frank. Rio debating, does he want to shock it away on end step? It will come back. At the same time, I don't know if I mind on Rio's side. And he decides, after some thought, that he'll keep the 3-2 around.
Likely wants to just cast a spell on his own turn, trigger prowess on the Soul Scar Mage.
Okay, and that's what's going to happen. Shock takes care of the Scrounger. Soul Scar swings in for 2. And looks like Rio says go. He's leaving up a Braid.
This would only be awkward if he had some 3-mana creature in his hand. He does play 4 Ferocidon, but it does just kind of make sense. On the following turn, you just leave up a spell to try to trigger the Bomat Courier. You could be taking yourself off of casting Chandra, but it didn't matter so much going into turn 3.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Rio's got 3 more cards in hand. One of them's, we know it's a Braid and a Glorybringer. Night Market Lookout made for Frank. And he'll say go. He leaves up 2 mana to bring that Scrounger back. For Rio, his draws Aether Sphere Harvester, so he's going to miss the land drop this turn.
Bomat Courier.
Bomat Courier, different artifact. Thank you.
Much better on this turn, actually.
Bomat Courier, a Braid shoots down the Lookout. Swing with both, so Soul Scar Mage prowess is up to a 2-3. Bomat Courier in for 1, so that's a 3-point hit.
So this is kind of the awkward things that happens with these mid-range red post-sideboard or just configurations in general. You see Rio has Bomat Courier going, and his hand is just 2 great cards.
Yeah. And you might have to get rid of them, too, because red is not a deck that can stumble too much. If you give your opponent free turns, your cards stop mattering.
Right. If he'll want to find a land. He has Chandra Glorybringer in hand. If he can cast Chandra next turn, he's golden.
Right. So Rio has gotten in 5 damage so far. It was 2 off the Mage, and then 2 more off the Mage and 1 on the Courier. So he's cranked to 15. But you're right, he's only very loosely in control of the board here. And here's Heart of Kiran from Frank and Gifted Aetherborn. And this is really, I think, a nightmare turn for Rio.
Oh, yeah. So the Scrounger itself can't block, but it can crew Heart of Kiran. So there you have a big 4-4 blocker, and then the life-linking 2-3 as well.
Yeah, this is just going to put a stop, I think, to the aggro plan from Rio. So now what I'm looking for is whether or not these Glorybringers start to matter. And they could. Here's Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
Yeah, Rio did find that 4th land.
Yeah.
That's a big boon here.
Yeah, but Chandra's not long for this game. I mean, there's a Heart of Kiran in play. No matter how you play the Chandra, Scrap Heap Scrounger is going to be in play. The Chandra is 1 activation only. So I think wisely Rio shoots down the Gifted Aetherborn.
The 4th land just puts him 1 land away from casting Glorybringer, though a Glorybringer doesn't match up great against Heart of Kiran.
Yeah, a lot of once again we're seeing Rio wanting to go big, but it just feels like his go big cards, the Chandras and Glorybringers, don't line up the right way. And here Frank can crew the vehicle to remove the Planeswalker. He would lose his blockers. Well, perhaps not even necessarily. Heart of Kiran takes care of the Planeswalker. He'll need 3 more power to crew again. And he doesn't, so instead it's going to be if near Deadlands. He sacrifices the desert to remove Bomat Courier. So Rio's really just left with Soul Scar Mage. And now we see Glorybringer off the top from Rio. He'll cast it, swing in. He may not exert. It looks like he doesn't, just 5 damage in, Frank down to 9. I like this.
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as a great window to exert. He wants to keep the pressure up and also exerting to kill Scrap Heap Scrounger. Well, that just comes back next turn.
So Rio now is 5 points closer. He's got Frank down to 9. He's out of cards in hand, though. He's got 2 deserts in play already, but no Ramanap Ruins, so they're not sources of damage just yet.
Right. a Ruins off the top would be actually pretty excellent.
Yeah, that'd be a huge draw.
Turn those Dunes of the Dead into some zombies, not to mention the reach on the Ruins itself.
And Frank looks like he wants to attack back. He gets his first points of damage in. Heart of Kiran will fly over to put Rio down to 16, and Frank says go. All right, what are we representing here? Like Vraska's Contempt. I mean, it's strange. Frank has three cards in hand, swinging with the Heart of Kiran.
Yeah, he does have
all sorts of flags.
He does have 2 Contempts in his sideboard. I think I spot one in his hand, and there it is.
Yeah, I'll take care of the dragon. Frank back up to 11 thanks to the life gain. Rio's draw another Soul Scar Mage. He just passes. I don't know if there's a reason to not attack there.
No, I can't think of it. I think he just missed it.
Okay. It's only 1 point, though, and right now, Frank looks to be taking control. Here's another Scrap Heap Scrounger. That's going to accrue Heart of Kiran, and Frank's going to swing both. I was interested. I thought he might have left one of them back to recrew on blocks, but Frank, nah, he's just going to deal 7 and pass. He smells blood here, and he accepts the race, and with Rio down to 9, it looks like he may pay off. Rio going to swing in 2 creatures, including a Bomat Courier off the top.
And Skarren really just kind of wants to close the game. A top deck that he wants to fade, if Rio were to produce a Braid and attack into the heart, then Frank would be in a lot of trouble. So with the Bomat Courier, Rio's thinking about attacking. You know, these creatures, they would be able to connect. Certainly makes sense to get some cards under the Bomat Courier. He is empty-handed.
So Rio will swing in with 2 of the 3 creatures, puts a card under Bomat Courier. It's going to drop Frank to 9, and I like this. Immediately post-combat, Rio wants the extra card, and it is Ramunap Ruins. However, he only has 4 mana after playing that, so he's 1 short of activating right away.
Yeah, the 2 mana investment there, I think that's going to cost him. Obviously,
there's no way around it.
Yeah, this is just the way that the cards were dealt. But this is just way worse than if you just drew Ramunap Ruins.
Yeah, if he could have started the Ramunaps this turn, then there's a lot more going on. Frank going to crew Heart of Kiran, and he swings for 7 again. Rio's going to have to block one of the Scrounger. He'll take 4 and drop down to 5. And you still got to be concerned. There's a bunch of cards in Frank's hand, and at least one of them is a Fatal Push.
That makes things really tough.
Yeah. Well, makes it, potentially lethal next turn. And Hazaret the Fervent, the draw from Rio. Attack for 5.
You can't Fatal Push that one.
No. Frank can Fatal Push away the blocker, and then if he can draw into any way to crew the Heart of Kiran. No, wait, actually, that's just the Scroungers will be lethal.
Yes.
Okay, so if Rio attacks here, he's going to lose.
Yes.
And he may just not be able to play around Fatal Push. He's going to make the attack. Frank goes down to 4. And end step Fatal Push, and Rio knows it. He knew he couldn't play around the card. He took the risk, and Frank had it. So 2-0. Frank Skarren of the Metagame Gurus. He's going to win the match. And for the standard portion, looks like Mono Black Aggro is one of your undefeated decks today.
Yeah, certainly not a deck that we discussed in the pregame show.
No, we saw some of these mono-colored aggro decks making a bit of noise at the Pro Tour. We saw some mono white vampires and mono black aggro, but no, they weren't really what I was expecting at all.
Yeah, so